Chapter 5, A Strange Meal. The next morning we woke up and the boys jumped up, excited about what our next adventure might be. "What should we do now, Father?" they asked. "Rest," I answered. "It's Sunday." And with that, we all decided to simply have a day of fun and relaxation. After breakfast, I built bows and arrows for the boys, even a little set for France. The boys quickly learned how to use them. No sooner did they finish practicing than I heard the sound of 2 birds falling from the branches, shot by Ernest. He was thrilled to have caught our dinner. "Well," said Ernest, "with a bridge in place, it's feeling like a home, isn't it?" "Yes," answered Jack. "But what should we call all of these places?" "We need to name them ourselves," suggested Fritz, "to make them our own." Fritz suggested calling our landing spot Safety Bay. We all liked this name and carried on with our game. After that, we decided to call the spot where we built our first camp on the island Tent Home. We named our island Shark Island and our swamp Flamingo Marsh. We agreed to call our new treehouse Falconhurst, and the land in which we lived New Switzerland. The next day, I suggested we headed to Tent Home by different routes so we could explore more. We all trekked back in a line, looking quite a sight with our monkey riding our dog. Suddenly I heard Ernest shout out happily, and we all ran ahead. "Look," he shouted, "potatoes, lots and lots of potatoes." And sure enough, he had discovered an entire field of potatoes, which meant we'd never starve. We all got down and started to dig up our new find. Our funny little monkey followed our lead. Loaded down, we continued on our new route. We made so many discoveries as we walked. Palms, flowers, cactus, jasmine, vanilla, peas, and pineapples all lay in our path. I was happy to recognize some karata plants, which were perfect for making rope and string. I also showed my wife and sons how to use the pit of the plant to make fire by hitting the pit with a rock. Sure enough, it sparked, and they were thrilled to learn how to do it. Jack tried to pick some Indian fig. He found the prickles hard work, but finally managed to pierce one with a stick. We broke it open to get the fruit inside and ate it happily for a snack. Soon they asked me questions about every plant we passed until finally I told them to stop. "Boys," I admitted, "the truth is that I don't actually know everything about all these plants and animals, but together we'll learn much more about our island." Finally, we were at Tent Home. We began to collect the rest of our important things and set about catching the ducks and the geese, which Ernest baited with cheese. Once back at our new tree house, we feasted on potatoes, butter, and cow's milk. With Falconhurst stocked, we turned in for the night. The next day, Ernest and I decided to look on the beach for driftwood. A driftwood sled would come in handy for carrying supplies back and forth between 2 places. We took our donkey, loaded the wood onto it, and went back to the camp to make our sled. When we arrived, the other boys were catching more birds. My wife had suggested that the boys build traps to capture, but not kill the birds. She explained we'd be here for a while, so we needed to make sure we planned our food for the future. As they worked on this idea, we built our sled. Everyone was busy and happy. Franz, being the youngest, wanted to help too. He suggested we should plant gunpowder into the ground. That way, we could grow something really more useful than vegetables. The boys all laughed at poor Franz as I explained to him how gunpowder was made. As soon as the shed was finished, Ernest and I set off back to Tent Home. Once again, we gathered supplies just as we were about to leave. With all we could fit onto the shed, we noticed the animals were nowhere in sight. Ernest searched for them as I cut more sugarcane. Returning, however, I found Ernest asleep. "Ernest," I said, waking him, "if the animals have made their way back off the beach by crossing the bridge, we may have lost them for good, and we will feel very sorry for that." "But Father," he said, "I pulled up one of the beams of the bridges, and the animals can't cross until we put it back." I laughed at his idea and was sorry for scolding him. While I replaced the bridge beam and checked the loaded sled, Ernest decided to try fishing in the river with a branch for a pole, some string, and one of the hooks Franz had found on the ship. He called me loudly almost right away, and I came running to see he had caught himself a giant of a fish. As he lay in the grass trying to pull it from the river, I noticed it was a salmon, almost 15 pounds. I hugged him with joy as we made our way back to the sled. I was proud of my son and relieved to know he could take on a lot of the family responsibility. On our way back to the treehouse, we suddenly spotted a giant beast leaping through the woods. Ernest shot it and knocked it down. As we ran to get a close look at the animal, we saw that it was big as a sheep, with a head like a mouse, a tiger's tail, and ears like a rabbit. We had looked at it for a long time, amazed by its appearance, until finally I clapped my hands. Oh, it must be a kangaroo, and you are the first to have found one in New Switzerland. We somehow got our new prize onto our overloaded sled, and we made her way to Falconhurst to show the other boys what we had found. We came back to discover them dressed in clothes, and we had found them from the wreck, each looking like a little pirate. Fritz along seemed upset that his little brother Ernest had such luck hunting. I took Fritz aside to tell him how important his work, taking care of the family, was to me. But he made him promise to take him along next time. That night, the whole family and dogs had a delicious and strange meal that I would never imagined in our home back in Switzerland: potato, salmon, and kangaroo.